Hi, my name is Jeremiah, and I created this YouTube channel to share my story, to share my journey, and ultimately with the intention of helping other people who have had a similar walk in life. At this point in my life, I've gone through a huge process of healing on multiple fronts. But some of the main areas of my life that have healed have been physically. I had a number of autoimmune issues, diseases, if you will, and they've all resolved. I had a number of relationship issues, both with my wife, with my kids, and also I have a very, very long history with religion, Christianity in particular, and I've had a lot of healing in my spiritual life as well. So I've created this channel to share bits of my story to help bring awareness to some of the things that people who have exited any type of religious background. There are a lot of paths that people take after exiting. Some people seem to do very well. Some people seem to be very angry. Some people seem to be stuck. I wouldn't categorize myself as someone who was angry, but I wanted answers, and I wanted to understand my own life and my spiritual life better. And no matter which religious sect I looked in, I did not get the answers that I needed until I left religion proper behind. And as a strange turn of events, I feel more in tune, in touch, and spiritual than I've ever felt. And in particular, I feel a much greater connection to the New Testament than I have ever felt. I don't understand the Bible or the New Testament or the Old Testament, any of it, like I was taught at this point in my life. I understand it completely different, foundationally different, and it's changed my life, and it has improved my life. And so I have a few disclaimers with this video, this being my primary launch video. So if you are here and you are watching this, I want to welcome you, first of all. Secondly, I want to state that what I share on this channel is my journey. What I share about my journey is not meant to shame, to ridicule, or judge anyone. Years ago, I would hear people talk about how they had healed, and the worst moments of their life became the best teacher. And that's certainly been true in my life now, but for years I would hear people say that, and quite honestly it would just piss me off because I thought it was bullshit. At this point in my life, I see things much differently. So what I have learned from my past has ultimately been used to propel me to where I am now, and that is in a really, really great place. And part of how I got here was I had to suspend judgment of everyone and everything, even religion. I had to suspend that judgment because on the other side of that, I had been judging myself. And so I had to release all judgment. And it was a process. It didn't happen overnight. So what I share on this channel is not meant to shame or judge anyone. Also, the different players that have been in my story, their story, even though we may have lived in the same house or we may have been family members, it's going to be monstrously different. Our stories will be, and that's okay. that is part of the mystery of this life, is that we each have a different view, and that's okay. And that's the way it's supposed to be. Third, I am sharing parts of my journey so that others who are dealing with some of the same issues will know that change and healing and living a completely different life is possible. At one time, I was sitting in an office with a talk therapy counselor who was walking me through EFT, and which is great, by the way. And he asked me something in particular, if I could imagine it being any different. And at that time in my life, I couldn't imagine it being different than it was at that moment. And thankfully, I answered him honestly and just told him no, I couldn't. But now my life is completely different. And it was a journey to get to where I am. And I'm grateful for every step of that, even the times that were the hardest, because just the other side of those hard moments were crazy, amazing breakthroughs. Having said all of this, if I say anything on this channel that triggers someone, I want the interweb world to know that that is your responsibility, not mine. I know in the world in which we live, there are a lot of different lines of thought about shame and being offended and stuff like that. And one of the greatest assets we have is the ability to take responsibility for everything, whether we think we intentionally created it or not. We can take responsibility. And that's what the journey of healing is all about, ultimately, is taking responsibility. That doesn't mean that, certainly not in the formative years of our lives, that age gap of 0 to 7, it doesn't mean that we caused events to happen, but it means that we take the responsibility at the point we find ourselves now in life to find answers and to resolve the conflict that is still within us. So if you are someone who watches this and I say something and it offends you, I would just ask you to do what I would ask a client to do, and that is take a look at that. Because I'm not someone who really, pardon my French, gives a fuck to chase down people and apologize and extend a lot of energy to someone who won't take responsibility for where they're at. That's how I healed. A part of how I healed was responsibility, taking huge responsibility. Even when I didn't think it was my responsibility, I took responsibility. So I'm kind of like a vault in that sense that if there's a trigger, there's a reason, and the other side of that is freedom. So if you're someone who is triggered by something I say, take a look at it. And our journeys, here's the deal, our journeys in life, they may overlap, they may have similarities, but they're not all going to be the same. And I certainly don't believe everything anyone tells me, and I don't expect anyone to believe everything I say or anything I say. But I have resolved a lot of health issues in a world where we are constantly and continually focused on decline in health. I can tell you, as someone who has healed a number of health issues, focusing on the problem is not the way to solve it. So with that, I will also say that over the years, my beliefs have changed. So I reserve the right at any point in time to update or refine my thoughts, my beliefs, in a way that benefits me or my family and everyone around me. So, from time to time, things may change, However, the path that I've been on has created enormous, enormous change in my life, and I've refined the process for myself along the way. So with that, I will just kind of give a little bit of information about myself, who I am. Like I said, my name is Jeremiah. I am married, soon to be married for 23 years. My wife and I have 4 kids. We also have one child that passed the day she was born. I grew up in the South. My family moved periodically between Memphis, Tennessee, and a small town in Arkansas, north central Arkansas. And those were the 2 major moves that we made as a child. However, due to some of my dad's work history and just the nature of his jobs, my family moved a lot when I was really little. I think by the time I was 18, I had moved over 40 times. So I have that in my background. So mostly in the South. I was raised in a Christian home. My family taught me about Jesus, taught me about sin. We were part of the world that didn't consider Christianity a religion. We considered our walk or our relationship with Jesus to be a relationship. We considered it to, not be really a religion. So I'm also a preacher's kid. That is one of the reasons why it has taken me a while to get to the point that I wanted to put myself out there for the whole world to see, because I even though I've had to work through a lot of things in regards to religion, I am super grateful for my upbringing in the sense that it gave me a lot of information to work with. It gave me a lot of experiences to work with, and it opened my eyes and it opened my heart to a part of human nature that maybe I would have known, maybe I wouldn't. Either way, this is where I'm at, and I'm grateful for it. That said, it has not been an easy journey. Along the way, starting around 5 years old, I started developing a lot of gastrointestinal issues. And throughout my life, that just kind of manifested in more intense gastrointestinal issues. And I also had a lot of other health issues that came along the way. And over the last few years, I have resolved. I was pre-diabetic for a while and then kind of shifted into diabetes. I was able to control it with my diet. However, at this point, I don't take anything to control my blood sugar. I have no blood sugar issues. I had a lot of neuropathy in my body, especially my arms and my legs. I had a lot of urological issues. I had a very painful prostate. I had a very weak urine stream, mostly due to having prostate issues. I eventually ended up on testosterone replacement therapy for a number of years. I'm no longer on that, and suffered no side effects. In fact, my health in that regard has only improved. Let's see, I had severe issues with my memory. My short-term memory was almost gone, and my long-term memory was starting to fade, which was one of the things that really gave me pause when I set about the journey of actually actively healing, because I didn't think I could remember anything. I had issues with my balance when I would shower and I would close my eyes to rinse my hair. I would have to brace myself against the shower or I would fall. I had no sense of smell and no sense of taste. You hear people talk about this with some of the, perceived health threats we've had over the last few years, losing sense of smell and taste. I didn't have sense of smell for 15 years, sense of smell or taste for 15 years. And before that, I had a really acute sense of smell, especially. So those are just some of the health issues that I had and I resolved. Emotionally, I was very depressed. I wouldn't say that I had a lot of anxiety because the depression covered everything up so much. The anxiety just really, over the last probably 5 or 6 years, wasn't as noticeable as it had been in the past. Anxiety is something I have struggled with. But in recent years, it was more along the lines of depression. And relationship-wise, just a lot of disconnection from my wife, a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of old wounds and things between us, a lot of disconnection with my kids, and I had spent a number of years searching spiritually for answers because even as a little kid, some of the answers I got in church, I didn't buy it. Some of the things that I asked, people would give me an answer, and it didn't make sense with other teachings that I had been taught. And so since probably about 2013, 2014, I had been really questioning and seeking a lot of answers. And at this point in my life is phenomenal. I couldn't have imagined a comeback like I've had, physically, emotionally, spiritually, relationally, sexually. And this is one of the things that I intend to talk to men about is when it comes to sex. We have learned and observed a lot of really shitty information. And I remember at one time, watching my wife and I have sex and seeing what an orgasm looked like for her, and just sitting there going, man, why do men get the shit end of the stick? I mean, it feels good, but I didn't have that level or that intensity of pleasure. I had feeling, but I didn't necessarily have pleasure, and that's changed. It's really kind of difficult for me to even put it into words what sex is like for me now. It is not just it's not just related to the genitals. It's full body. It is restorative. It is, like I said, it's full body pleasure, full body engagement. And there are a lot of things in my life that once were dark and dreary and drab, and it's not that way now. And while I did utilize a lot of information, at the end of the day, ultimately the greatest asset that I had was me, and learning what my body can do, learning what my mind can do, learning what my heart can do, learning what my energy can do, and learning how to work all of that, learning how to relax, learning how to let go, learning how to process old trauma and hurt, learning how to process old sexual trauma and hurt, learning how to process physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, learning how to work through a lot of those things. And now my life is completely different. And as a result of that, the lives of everyone around me is very different. And I'm a pretty hardcore person. When I latch onto something, I will see it through. And that's pretty much what I've done with myself. And I'm very grateful for that nature that I learned from my parents. It served me well. It's served me very, very well, and it served those around me well. And there was a time when I would look at my wife or my kids, and I would think, "Oh my gosh, how do I facilitate or help them with this?" And one of the greatest lessons mentors have taught me along the way is that it all begins and starts with me. I'm not responsible for people in the way I was taught as a child that I was responsible for them. And when we get our shit together, when we get our shit online, when we take responsibility for everything that we have to do, the world around us shifts and changes in a way that is, the only way I can describe it is it's magical. And it kind of gets back to the whole crux of why I am starting this YouTube channel, why I have created a course to help men, and why finally, after a very long time, I've come out to start saying, look, much of what we've been taught, be it religious, be it educational, be it social, political, and even history, a lot of it, in fact, most of it is bullshit. At the end of the day, we are amazing, amazing creatures. We are not just this physical body, and we are not just a spiritual body. I have a friend that often says that we're God in drag, and we are definitely something beyond what I was taught we are. And the proof is in the pudding. When we take responsibility for this being that we are, and when we learn how to work within, and when we learn how to harness our minds, and we learn how to put that energy that we have behind that, we can create some pretty interesting things. And people do this all the time, every day. You see people creating phenomenal lives and doing things that other people can't do, seemingly can't do. And the reality is we all have the same potential, but not all of us have it unlocked, and not all of us have it unlocked fully. And part of my story is telling how that locking up happened with me. It happened on a number of fronts. It happened emotionally and psychologically. It happened physically. It happened spiritually through religion. So the reason why I'm sharing this is not just to tell my story and be like, oh, boo-hoo, poor me. That no one should feel sorry for me or sadness for me at all. I'm doing very, very well. I'm very, very happy. But part of my journey includes knowing a lot of other people my age, Gen Xers, who have been experiencing the same thing. And, we need a little help. We need a little help remembering who we are and what we're here for, and that we are here for a reason. And the reason, ultimately, is to be really, really good at whatever we want to be good at, and to experience pleasure. And I don't know about you, who is watching this or who are watching this, but my life growing up didn't include a lot of pleasure at all. It's not to say there was no pleasure, but even the pleasure that I experienced wasn't fully felt because of some circumstances in my life. And my parents, I will talk about my parents some. But being a parent myself, I see it's not easy. It's certainly not easy when you have children when you're young and when you haven't figured your shit out. And looking back, I am super grateful for my parents. I'm super grateful for just my life. if I didn't have the life that I've had, I wouldn't be where I am now, and I wouldn't be setting off on a journey to help others, which I'm already doing, but I've kind of done it low key, and haven't really put myself out there, primarily because I wanted to take a little time for myself and just enjoy my life as it was. So yeah, this is a little about me. If you are a man, yeah, I may open it up for women at some point. If you are a man and anything I've shared strikes a chord with you, and you are struggling in your relationships, you're struggling with sex, you're struggling with health, you're struggling spiritually, reach out. Things aren't as bleak as what it may seem. The road to healing is not necessarily an easy one. It's not a linear. It's not like popping a pill. It is. It's a very involved process, but it's very doable. And the payout is just beyond anything I could have ever imagined. I never imagined 5 years ago that I would be sitting where I'm sitting now, with my relationships being what they are. And there are reasons for it all. And when we understand those reasons, when we understand the nature of being human, and that it's not just to, get up, punch a time card, serve everybody else, and do that until you end up ill, and hoping to retire one day. And then at that point you figure out, wow, I've just fucking worked my whole life and I don't have anything to really show for it except for maybe a pension at this point. But, excuse me, that's kind of the way things go a lot of times for a lot of people. Not everyone. Obviously there are people who have plans and who have hobbies and that make their life work. But some people who are really, really entrenched heavily into religion and trauma really struggle to make that shift. And I was one of them. But what was possible for me is possible for anyone. And so I am stepping up to bring about awareness on issues that I've dealt with. That said, if you didn't grow up in religion, if you don't have health issues, if there are just spots in your life, cycles that you keep repeating, there are reasons for that as well. So even if it isn't one of the primary areas of my life that I've discussed on here, and you're still struggling, you're welcome to reach out. I am going to be posting more content frequently, to share little bits about my story, my journey, and yeah, so stay tuned. And if you've watched this far, you can see that I am a little on the long-winded side. I'm going to try and do some shorter videos, but this introduction video, I kind of wanted to just give a little bit of background and share my heart a little bit. So if this has struck a chord with you, feel free to reach out. I do have a course available. I don't really have a launch date because I prefer to work more one-on-one with people. That said, I will have a group working together at some point, but it will be kind of a loose-knit situation, because I want to make sure that I maintain the type of life I want to live. And I want to serve others while still enjoying my own life and my family. But with that said, I will close this video, and I thank you for watching.